Well, good late afternoon to everybody. As you can see, it's a beautiful day. We've had lots and lots of rain over the past few days, so the spring well has been topped up and the water is flowing to the cottage, which is a massive relief. And I've been weeding, I've been in the garden, I've been writing, I've been working in the cottage, I've been down in Sligo, and I've got some fascinating news for you all. I'm going to be heading off on Sunday on a very special little expedition, and I'm going to investigate a particular place, and it's actually part of some very late research for my latest book. And I'm glad now that I have sort of dandered a little bit on my writing, because this new piece of very, very interesting study has just come to light. I was sort of aware of it at one point, and then I'd kind of forgotten about it, and I'd sort of buried the information in my desk, and that's both metaphorically and physically, because I was sort of taken with a lot of other things. But anyway, cut a long story short, I'm going off on Sunday to investigate this place, to actually physically go to this place. It is of perhaps the utmost interest in terms of all the research that I've been doing for my latest book, because this house, which is almost 300 years old now, is associated with the She, and is associated with an enormous amount of supernatural happenings, and primarily all that has been put down to the fact that the house was originally built very near to a fairy fort and on very ancient sacred ground. So it's very near to Knocknarea, and Knocknarea, as you know, is that magnificent mountain in Sligo with a huge cairn at the top of it. And the cairn is, I think the cairn is about 100 feet high, and inside that cairn is the mortal remains, so legend has it, of Queen Maeve of Connaught. So Knocknarea, of course, is very much associated with the She, and William Butler Yeats has written a lot of stories and poetry, all relating to Knocknarea in one way or another. And as you know, William Butler Yeats was a theosophist and very interested in Theosophy and the Golden Dawn. That was the two societies that he belonged to, and would have been aware of this house. Now, I'm not going to give you the name of the place yet. I'm going to be making a video down there because it's quite spectacular. I am going to keep most of the story for the book. I want to really touch base with this place, because it really is that powerful place. I mean, it's got the most incredible energy around it. So it's going to make a fascinating video. So that'll be my next video, probably. It'll be on Sunday. As soon as I get back, I'll upload it. And I think you'll agree it'll be well worth the wait, because I have been down and taken some preliminary photographs, and the photographs are stunning and hugely evocative. I mean, just to look at the photographs takes you into another world. It takes you into another sense of time and place. At one point, this particular house had a lot of inexplicable happenings that would be associated in modern day terms, I suppose, with poltergeist activity. But in fact, from all the research that I've done, when that line is crossed from the mortal world into the realm of the she, what transpires then is probably best explained in terms of poltergeist activity because of the physical manipulation that happens. So I think that's where that word comes in. I'm not going to be using that word in terms of this place, because I think it's a very contemporary word, and it's a word that does not conjure up the energy of the place. And as my grandmother always said, because of course I grew up in the days of darkness, when there was very little electricity, very little street lighting, very little unnatural light to guide your way. You were very much at the behest of the natural cycle of the day. Hence, going out visiting a lot during midsummer, around the midsummer time, because you'd have the natural light in the sky up until midnight and sometimes all night. So you could easily find your way home. Of course, this is before my family were privy to a car, or very few people had cars. So it's going to be a most interesting experience. And of course, you know the way that I film as well. I don't edit. I don't organise filming. I don't sort of set anything up. I don't like anything that's contrived. That's not my style. I just like to take the lens cap off, press the button and let it roll. And there's no cutting, there's no editing. So when I go down there and when I open up the shutter, when I take the lens cap off and I start filming, I haven't got a clue what's going to be the end product. So it should be very interesting. So all things being well, I'm going to be back on Sunday with some very interesting footage and a very interesting story. The story, even without any footage at all, is quite mesmerising. And if I was in another, so say I lived in the city and I wasn't living where I am now, I would find it very hard to believe the story itself. But from where I'm living now, which is very much in nature, and on this western seaboard that's the very edge of Europe, the very kind of last little trails of empire, of civilization, if you like, is here. I do find myself between two worlds most of the time, and I never question anything. But I've a mind just to tell you what my grandmother said, which I got sidetracked on. My grandmother always said, Colette, it's never the dead you should be afeard of. Keep your eye on the living. So that's been one of my soundproof, foolproof mantras for life. And I see myself as an observer. So on Sunday, I'll be opening up this lens and letting the eye of the camera and my own eyes observe. And we'll listen. And I'll tell you the story. Blessings to you all.